Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Notoriety Sports Network. Breaking news, live shows, unprecedented content. Notoriety Sports Network. Built different.
A guy who thinks he's a Instagram model / influencer, also thinks he could be a pro hooper, but can't really hoop at all.
I'm passing the phone to somebody that can't catch a cold, let alone a football, and they wear a do-rag every day with no results and no waves.
So I'm passing the phone to a guy who thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread and won't stop talking for anything.
I want to pass it to the person that's been with the Bucks forever. I want to pass it to the person that always try to make me do all his stuff. He always want to make me do all the reps. Y'all know who it is.
I'm passing the phone to somebody who got the biggest head in the universe.
I'm passing the phone to the man with the most jewelry on the team.
I'm passing the phone to someone who, although he's one of the greatest football players of all time, he may be one of the great dancers of all time and possibly one of the greatest singers of all time.
Hey guys, thank you for the nomination. That's why I was on The Masked Singer, because I got secret dance moves and secret singing skills. Or stop, collaborate in this sin. Refugees back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will ever stop, yo? I don't know. Turn off the lights up and I'll glow to the extreme. I rock a mic like a vandal, light up a stage and wax it, jump like a candle. Dance. What's your speaker that booms up, killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom? Thank you guys. See you later.
What's going on? Welcome back to a special Tuesday night edition of the Sports Web live here on I Love St. Pete. And of course, a part of the Notoriety Sports Network. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Enlightening fans, how did you like that win last night? What you heard all night long. It started off with Yanni Gord. You had Nikita Kucherov that had 2 goals in this game. Stamkos. I mean, were you impressed last night with that effort by your Tampa Bay Lightning? And how about Vasilevsky? All the talk was on Carey Price, as it should be, because look, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest goalies in this era. Well, you could see Vasilevsky was the best goalie last night. And this team is not only an offensive juggernaut, but they can also play some defense too. So we'll be talking about that big win by your Tampa Bay Lightning in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Game 2, of course, tomorrow night. I'm going to be getting on once again with my guest co-host tonight, of course, my Lightning insider from Rocket Sports and Entertainment, Mr. Travis Faley, again of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. We'll break down that game at 9:30. We'll have ABC Action News' Mr. Dennis Phillips on with us talking about the Lightning, the Bucks, around the NFL. It's all open tonight. It's not just Lightning talk, but I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear that. I want phone calls tonight. I want interaction. I want comments. I don't care if you're trolling me. You can troll me all you want to. I'll troll you back. I want to hear what you have to say about your Lightning, about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You want to put some Rays talk in there. Wander Franco has cooled off. Little reality check for the young man. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also have the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Leo Haggerty, and the number's right there. So use it. You want a sports talk show? Why do we call this the evolution of sports talk television on the Notoriety Sports Network and I Love St. Pete? Because you can text in, you can call in, you can interact. If you want to sit there with your thumb up your nose and watch, you can do that too. But I prefer you to get on the phone line. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to the comments here because we got some already. Let's go out to Q. Says, yo, Pete, hope all is well, bud. Keep doing your thing, bro. Absolutely. Dylan says, Pete, thanks a lot. Notoriety Sports Network, absolutely on fire. Let's go. Christopher Cole says, hey, what's up, everyone? Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan legend. We have all the weapons for Aaron Rodgers. We will be talking about Mr. Rodgers because I would not be surprised if this could happen on Friday. What that is, well, that's a teaser, guys. We'll talk about it. Let's see. What's up, PB? What's going on? LFG. Love it. Love it. DeMarcus, thanks a lot. Pumped up for tonight. The fire. I love it. I'll go ahead and fire more cannons. And when does training camp start? Next month. So in July. And we'll have you covered. And I'm ramping it up. I ramped it up this week because your Tampa Bay Lightning's playing. Do you not think that I'm going to ramp it up when the Bucks have training camp? You know, I didn't get the nickname the hardest working sports broadcaster in the Tampa Bay area for nothing. Okay? Nobody will ever top my work ethic in this business. So it's going to be ramped up 3, 4, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Hell, I've done 7 days a week. You never know. So definitely keep on tuning in to the evolution of sports talk television. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go out to our Tampa Bay Lightning insider, a guy that you've been getting to know here with his hot takes, Mr. Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. And let's talk about it. The Tampa Bay Lightning last night, an outstanding performance. It was close until the third period, 5-1 Lightning over the Montreal Canadiens. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me once again, Pete. I think your viewers are probably getting tired of these blue eyes and my goofy face, but I just want to say thanks for having me on once again. And hey, Pete, I got some big news, bigger than last night's win, something that Lightning fans have been waiting for a long, long time. I don't know if you know what it is. I don't know if your other fans out there know what it is, but hey, we're going to Nashville, baby. February 26th for the first Stadium Series outdoor game in Tampa Bay Lightning history. Yours truly, my wife, and half the planet's going to be there. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. February 26th. Obviously, Pete, I am fired up to go to Smashville and watch our Tampa Bay Lightning go up against the Nashville Predators in one of the most beautiful cities in all of America, hands down, Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a big announcement yesterday. We didn't get a chance to cover it. The other big announcement tonight, we'll get back to the game in a moment, just been announced. Who is your Vezina winning top goalie in the National Hockey League? No, Tampa Bay fans, it is not Andre Vasilevsky. It is, in fact,
give up the puck on the goal line and change the whole series, and that's why we're playing the Montreal Canadiens And that would be number 29, Marc-Andre Fleury. And not only that, Pete, the Lightning get shut out all across the board for these for the NHL awards today. The Hart Memorial for NHL Most Valuable, Connor McDavid, obviously. The Calder, that was pretty much a given that McDavid was going to get it. First time unanimous. I don't know if that was first time, but yeah, McDavid swept all 100 first place votes for the Hart Trophy, which puts him in illustrious company. Me reading while I'm on the air, that's not a good look. Not a good look. But hey, Calder, Kirill Kaprizov from Minnesota. The Norris Trophy goes to Adam Fox of the Rangers. Obviously Victor was up for that award and he just misses out. And, the Coach of the Year, the Ted Lindsay Award goes to Connor McDavid. So a big night for Connor McDavid. But once again, he's sitting at home going, wah, 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 after going out in the first round. Hey, there you go. Let's get to the game last night a little bit, huh? Wow, out of the box, Pete. And what did they have to do? They didn't control the circle, but they went 50-50 in the circle and did a great job in the defensive zone, and it was brought up on the broadcast numerous times yesterday. So, hey, like I said, if we can at least control or be close to the face-off circle, I like this team's chances all night long.
Really quick, going back to the awards ceremony, and I think there's a lot of fans out there that will echo what I kind of said last night to begin the broadcast. National media really doesn't give the Tampa Bay sports teams really that much respect. And it goes again, Vasilevsky, you talked about, of course, Victor Hedman. You have any problem with Vasilevsky not being the Vezina Award winner? And do you think, once again, it is the national media and everybody else slapping the Tampa Bay sports public in the face?
No, I don't think so, Pete. I think what it really comes down to, if you look at the team as a total entity, now you're looking at 6 top defensemen in the league as far as the lines are concerned. Line 1, 2, and 3 as far as defensive pairings they're arguably the best in the league put them up against any other team in the league. So with Vegas, you have some issues in second and third pairings, and you got a backstop in Marc-Andre Fleury, who had some great numbers this year. So you got to give it up to him. But it doesn't really matter with these individual awards. The biggest award is hopefully on the horizon for this Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team, and to go back to back, I think that's all that really matters. And John Cooper's got this team focused, and John Cooper had a fantastic night behind the bench last night, really eliminating that second line for, I think that the top 3 pairing of the second line for Montreal, the young kids, had a -3 rating. So you look at what Cooper did, he paired them up against, Braden Point, Kucherov, and Palat, and attacked the rookiness of them, if that's a word, the rookiness, and really did a number on it. And the proof was in the pudding by the score of 5-1. Plus the Lightning, Rick brought it up yesterday. Rick Sassone of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. He said you got to watch out for a couple of these guys on Montreal. Yes, they play well, but they obviously can give up the puck. Also, I think it was Sherratt last night that was involved in 4 of the goals, 1 for Montreal and 3 for your Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the story of the night, because we talked about goaltending, that was going to be a big part. It's always a big part of a hockey game, especially when you have a Vasilevsky and a Price. And, it seemed like the Lightning were able to get to the middle of the crease. They were able to basically screen a Price that gave him lots of problems. He had lots of deflections. Talk about that last night.
Well, the thing was they were moving screens, Pete, too. It wasn't like they were just camping out in front where Montreal can get some of their bigger players and push our guys out of the way. A lot of goaltenders, from what I've talked to some guys behind the scenes, old pros in the game, and they say they would rather have a guy camping out in front because they know where their body movement's going to be, instead of guys like Yanni Gourde coming up in front and slashing in front of them because it catches the eye. You know how it is when, well, you don't because you're not an athlete, but when you're playing baseball or something, you get a ball that's up in the eyes, it distracts you for a minute. So it takes your focus out. So when you get a guy, once again, like Yanni Gourde or Killorn or, even Palat getting in front and slashing in front, making quick movements, a goalie will get distracted. And you saw that a couple times last night. So, and the one goal that did beat Andre Vasilevsky last night was, the double doink. Everybody that's familiar with the Bears and, in that playoff game, that term is being used not only in football now, not only in baseball, but of course in the National Hockey League. And you saw it last night as there was a pinball action and it got by Vasilevsky. It was just, one of those fluke things, and it happens in hockey. So, or you could be looking at it, another shutout for what we think is the best goalie in the world. Maybe sometimes the numbers don't match it up, but if you look at the saves, I mean, they call him 10 Bell saves for nothing, and Vasilevsky is top flight at making 10 Bell saves, Pete. 10 Bell saves. Book it, baby. Book it. Hey, but let's go inside the numbers, Pete, last night.
Yes.
We talked about the face-off circle, right? 50-50 for even for both of those guys. And I think the Lightning had a really good first period and it sort of evened out throughout the course of the game. But, you got to give up the body when the Stanley Cup. To lift the cup, you got to give up the body. And, Alex Killorn is out at this point. We don't know what's going to happen for tomorrow. But when you have 15 blocks to 5 for the other team, that's considerable, guys. That's pucks not getting to your goalie, and that stops from having to make a difficult save. So, you stay 15 shots from getting to the goalie, that's considerable. That takes away those numbers, that shots on goal numbers and those golden opportunities to get goals. Hits last night, guys, 58-57, and I think the numbers, if I remember correctly, were 26 and 22 in the first period. And how can they keep up those numbers? And they pretty much did, 58-57 and for the Canadians. And the one thing we have to worry about a little bit, Pete, we've talked about this, is turnovers and giveaways. The Lightning had 9 giveaways to Montreal's 3, but they dominated and they controlled the puck play for the most part. Their passing was fantastic last night. They'd have to be at least at 75 to 80% in passer rating. So you're going to have, when you're controlling the puck that well and that often, you're going to have some giveaways. But man, once again, John Cooper wants to get, Montreal had I think 31 or 32 in a row on the power play. Lightning get one late in the game, put 5 forwards out there to break that streak, get in the mind a little bit of Montreal. You really got to give it up to John Cooper and this Tampa Bay Lightning team and organization. Wow, what a job.
Yeah, really, the adjustments by
I'm
Cooper.
on fire tonight, Pete. I'm on fire.
We're all with Travis Staley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, my Tampa Bay Lightning insider here on the Sports Web Live on the Notoriety Sports Network, and I love St. Pete. You're exactly right, and it seemed like defensively the Lightning did everything they could to not give the Canadians, when they did get power plays, any space at all to set up. And, of course, snapping that streak of 32 penalty kills by the Canadians is impressive. Stamkos nearly scored. You talked about some of the giveaways. That's the reason why I don't think, there's national media out there that really give Vasilevsky that much respect, because with those giveaways, you've got to have a great goalie that's going to be on his toes. And he was last night, even though, look, the Lightning outshot them 27-19. He made some really key saves last night. So, and again, this game was close going into the third period. When you're giving away the puck, if you have a goalie that can track the puck so well, you just can't put a price on it. You really can't.
Well, once again, if you give up the puck, guy, Pete, and then you got guys selling out in the back end, you add 15 shots of that. That's 32 shots, if my math is correct, that if those shots get through, but not, they're being blocked. Guys are selling out. You got Killorn, who takes one off the foot, off the ankle, wondering what his status is going to be for tomorrow. And that's a big loss if they lose Killorn for a game or two. Big loss, because he does a lot of the dirty work. He basically leads that second line along with Stamkos and Cirelli, obviously. So, see what happens tomorrow. But once again, Alex Killorn is a warrior. He's going to do exactly what he needs to tomorrow. Give him the needle. Give him the needle so he can get back on the ice tomorrow night. So, hey, you got to remember, in that series that Vegas put on against Montreal, Vegas' forwards only scored 4 goals in that whole series. And I think last night the Lightning had 4 themselves. So, and that job by Eric Cernak to get the Lightning on board, going in, pinching in. You can't say enough about this defense and the forwards getting back. Defense pinches in, the forwards get back and cover the defensive zone. You can't say enough. They did it at the beginning of the game. They did it in the middle period, and they did it all night. And that was Lightning hockey, Tampa Bay Lightning hockey, and that's how you win games. That's how they win games, Steve. When you take their foot off the gas, that's when they get in trouble. But no other team in this league can match up with this club, line for line, coach for coach, owner for owner. The best owner in all professional sports. Stop laughing at me. You know I'm right, Pete. You know I'm right, damn it.
You're absolutely right about that. I tell you right now, though, this guy did not have a good night last night. And look, you appreciate him, trying to be gritty and tough. That's Brendan Gallagher. he got knocked on you know what. I mean, and it started when he came out of the gate, he fell down, and then he tried to go against Victor Hedman, and then Coleman and Gord got on him. I mean, this guy just had a bad night. I mean, is he going to be a problem in this series? Do you like the way the Lightning handled him last night?
Well, it's interesting, because a couple of years ago when they played Washington in Game 7, Game 6, they went up and had a big stinker up in Washington, and then they go Game 7. And, they looked like Barry Trotz put a little bit of a recipe for success. And even Tortorella did it also when they got swept with Columbus, was body the Lightning. Don't let them skate. Get in front of them, slow them down, slow this team down because they can't play the physical game. Well, that's not the case anymore. They've learned not only how to win, barn burners and, 6-4 games, but obviously, Game 7, they wrapped it up against the Islanders, winning a 1-0 game. They can be physical, and they're actually starting to enjoy the physicality of the game. And that's why they brought in Barclay Goodrow, and that's why they brought in Coleman. Granted, they lost Bogosian in the offseason, but, Pat Maroon going for the natural hat trick for Stanley Cups, baby. The natural hat trick. So you got that edge. You got that fire, and they can match up against anybody. Like I said, Pete, we've talked – I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it's hard not to be a broken record when you look at the positives of this hockey team. And once again, when they do take their foot off the gas, sometimes it comes back to bite them. And let's just hope we don't see that this whole series. But I would like this to go 5 because I got tickets for Game 5.
Well, I think it's good. And you picked 5. You picked 5. We're on with Travis Fadley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, my Tampa Bay Lightning insider. How amazing and how good is Nikita Kucherov? We had the legend himself, Leo Haggerty, say that he is the Magic Johnson of the NHL because he can facilitate the puck, Leo word, and also score and do so many things. And on top of it, check this out. Only 3 players in NHL history have scored 30 points in consecutive postseasons. Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Nikita Kucherov. Amazing.
Was that a Kucherov? I think that's what that was. A little draw there, a little Nikita Kucherov. And you're going to see it again next year, Pete. If this team continues to make deep runs, which, obviously there's going to be some salary cap issues that they're going to have to deal with, but Brisebois is going to do his best, and I think this team's going to be back competing once again to go deep into the playoffs, if not make it to another cup. Like, let's not get the horse in front of the cart. Let's finish off this season. But, you can't say enough about what Kucherov is doing. There's times when I'm screaming at the TV for him to shoot because he's got such a great shot. And next thing you know, he's making a magic pass. And, they were super close yesterday to scoring on one of the earlier power plays where the passing was just tic-tac-toe. They got to the point. Point just went a little bit wide. Stamkos missed the net early. But, hey, once again, it's really tough to defend. And I was listening a lot to NHL radio today on Sirius, and every show that was talking about this Lightning power play, it's so difficult to defend because you've got Kucherov leading the show, but then you got, obviously Victor Hedman up at the blue line cycling around. So, and then you got lasers from, once again, you got Stamkos on the left circle, you got Kuch on the right, and then when they don't want to take the slap shot, they drop it in right in the middle of the breaking point and let them take shots from in close. So, it's very, very difficult, especially once they enter the zone. Do the Lightning have problems entering the zone sometimes? Absolutely, and it's very frustrating as somebody who watches it. But once they get the zone, most of the time they're going to attack, and the numbers pan out. I think at this point I believe it's 38% or 38.5% for the power play at this point. That's pretty damn strong, Dave. Damn strong in the playoffs, and that's going to win you some big cups at the end of the playoffs. So
it really is.
Keep it up. Keep it up. And that was the thing with Vegas when Montreal played against Vegas. Once again, they didn't have that power play. They were very limited as far as their offensive weapons, and Montreal's big line, defensive line, was able to shut down their monster line with Marchessault, et cetera, et cetera. So, this Montreal team is seeing a little bit different of a club with this Lightning, a little bit more well-balanced and deep all the way across the board. So, it's tough to look at anything from a last night perspective for this Lightning team and say it was a negative, but, they got to do it again tomorrow night. If Montreal wins tomorrow night and goes back to the Bell Center and goes up one or goes and makes this thing even 1-1, we could look at a long series, but I just can't see it, Pete. I just can't see it when you match up line for line.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the Canadians are definitely outmatched. But again, what are some of the adjustments you think the Canadians are going to make tomorrow night? Are they going to be more physical? Are they going to try to draw more penalties so they can, get that power play working? I mean, because the Lightning, nobody talks about the Lightning's penalty kill, but I thought the Lightning penalty kill last night did a good job. So what are some of
They're fantastic, Pete. This penalty kill is fantastic, and it's led predominantly by the blue line and Victor Hedman and Ryan McDonough. What was interesting in that Game 7, when going back to that against the Islanders, when they're talking about Kucherov being hurt, Kucherov made a key clear out with 3 seconds on the clock to get the puck out of the zone to solidify that win. Not a lot of people talked about that, but for a guy that was supposedly injured and might not play, to have him out on the ice with John Cooper in the last 30 seconds of that game, the critical Game 7, spoke volumes not only of the security and the thought of John Cooper to say, in the confidence in Kucherov's ability, because we always look at him as an offensive weapon, but for him to be on the ice in that critical time against the Islanders, that says a lot about Coach Cooper and what he thinks of Nikita Kucherov. But getting back to the question that you asked, Pete, it's going to be tough, especially with John Cooper having that last change tomorrow. We'll see what happens in Game 3, obviously on Friday night. See how Montreal combats. John Cooper putting that top line up against the speedy youth line. They have 3 players under 21 years old in Montreal playing, solid big minutes on that second line and down the roster. So, but once again, John Cooper said it in the last series against the Islanders in Game 3. We just play the game. We don't look at matchups at that point. We just play the game and throw the guys out there. And for the most part, if it works, it works. And with this Lightning club, it does work. So we will see tomorrow night what kind of changes that Montreal brings to the game. And I think you're going to see more shots from the defensemen. And Shea Weber is an absolute beast. And I think you're going to see a lot of the same from the Lightning last night. Defensemen really pinching in and getting shots on wow, it's Carey Price. I just lost my train of thought for a second there, thinking about Marc-Andre Fleury stealing the Vezina from Vasilevsky.
How good was that save on Stamkos? Because it looked like Stamkos was going to score, and then Price steps up and gloves it. Some people, the announcers, are saying that was old school. So how good was that save in your opinion?
It's a top flight 10-bell save. Once again, we use that terminology. 10-bell save, Pete. 10-bell save tonight on the Sports Flag. And then you also had Vasilevsky doing the same thing on Shea Weber right in the middle of the ice. That was a huge save in this game. A bounce here and a bounce there could have been a little bit of a different game last night. Do I still think the Lightning would have won last night? Absolutely, because that team was clicking on all cylinders. Their passing was fantastic. Once again, not to be redundant, but their passing last night was fantastic. And there weren't, the puck was on the ice. It's, we're not seeing a lot of the bouncing of the puck like we did in the first game against the Islanders, because obviously I think the game was at 3:00 and that place, the ice was a mess in that first game against the Islanders. And that, whenever the Lightning can skate up and down and control the puck, they're going to do fairly well.
I mean, the ice really worked to the advantage of the Lightning. They had 2 Canadians slip down. We talked about Gallagher. There's another player. And then basically Price took a shot on the pregame warm-up to his throat. So I'm like, wow, stuff happens in threes. It wasn't necessarily going well for the Canadians, and they should have known it. Good stuff from Travis Feely of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, my Tampa Bay Lightning insider. Go ahead and promote yourself. And do you want to do a pregame show tomorrow night for your Tampa Bay Lightning, getting everybody ready here on the Notoriety Sports Network?
I don't know, Pete. I don't know if I can go 3 days in a row. I just don't know if I can do it. I might be, Barry Miller was, hey, there's some big stuff going on in ESPN now promoting and, taking over the NHL next year as far as the broadcast. It's going to be great for the league. Steve Levy's going to be out there. Sean McDonough's going to be running the show for ESPN and doing the number one broadcast guy for ESPN or the NHL on ESPN. That's huge news, guys. That's just more promotion. They're going to be more, hockey's going to be more in your face, and say what you want about ESPN. I think it's a big positive for a league and in the sport that you love and the sport that I dearly love, and it's my favorite in the world. So more hockey's a good thing. More hockey's a good thing. And it's a good thing, Pete? Checking out Travis Feely on rocketsports-ent.com and TravisFeelyPhotography.com. Check it out, guys. rock stuff, music stuff. It's all out there. Check it out. And thank you for listening to me ramble about my favorite hockey team and your favorite hockey team. Have a great night, Pete, and have a great show.
Yeah.
I know you got Dennis Phillips coming on, and I cannot bump Dennis Phillips.
One more question, because he's not here yet. How surprised were you that one of the teams that offered a contract to Tom Brady was your Chicago Bears? And do you have any problem with those comments made by Brady on The Shop, of course, on HBO, the LeBron James show?
Hey, they're just trying to win. They knew that Mitch wasn't going to be the guy. I think Nagy's known, ever since that Mitch was taking snaps underneath center when he got there that first year, that Mitch wasn't going to be the guy. The guy can't throw the deep ball. He's having problems in Buffalo as the backup already. I have to give the Bears credit that they offered him a contract because they knew that defense, even though the numbers didn't pan out last year, the defense is ready to win. The team was ready to win as far as, from a defensive standpoint. Did I think they had the weapons for Brady last year? No, because Anthony Miller is a scrub. That's just my opinion. You did have Allen Robinson. You had they had some players, but they didn't have enough to win the Super Bowl with Brady last year. Would they have made the playoffs? Absolutely. Would they have went deep? I still think they would have had a problem with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. So do I think, hey, I'll give them props for trying. That's for damn sure. And put your mortgage on them playing in Arlington Heights in a new stadium within the next 10 years, which, once again, Pete, I'm all for. For that. And, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting with training camp starting soon. I know you're going to bring up Aaron Rodgers later, but there's no way he doesn't miss camp. He's going to be there. He's going to be under center for the Packers this year. You can count on it. He went and redid his subscription or his membership or whatever to his favorite golf club up in Green Bay. So he's going to be there. He's not going to leave the money. He has a legacy he has to look after, and he won't be there after this year. So one more season of the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, going up against my beloved Bears. And that game in Tampa is going to be interesting, Pete. The Bears versus obviously the Buccaneers, and should be fun if Justin Fields is behind center at that point, which he should be. So should be a fun season, not only as a Buccaneer fan, which I love the Buccaneers' chances. I've said it before on your show. This is numerous times now. I love the Buccaneers. It's a great opportunity to make it back to the Super Bowl, and I'm looking forward to seeing Justin Fields behind center. Number one in your heart, number one in your playbook for your Chicago Bears, possibly the franchise quarterback we've been looking for since Jim McMahon, and some would say Jay Cutler, but Jay Cutler's a heartbreaker, so always will be.
Did you have a problem with Brady and his comments? I mean, calling another quarterback supposedly that MFer, and who do you think the team was? Do you think it was the Raiders?
I think that's a little below, Tom Brady and what we expect from him. But the guy feels disrespected. He feels disrespected. Hey, he's got enough street cred out there to throw it out there and say it. Do I think it's a little bit below him? Yes, but who am I to say? I don't have 6 rings. I got 5 rings. I don't have 6. I don't have 7, Pete. I got 6 rings, Pete, but none of them say Super Bowl champion. That's for darn sure. So
nobody cares about your 6 rings that you have at this point, Travis Bailey of Rocket Sports.
What do you mean nobody cares?
What team do you think that he was basically throwing that shade to? Was it the Raiders or was it the 49ers? I thought it was the 49ers because that was his first choice, but what really gave it away is he said he would never go there. So could it have been the Raiders? And did they really say, hey, we'll stick with Derek Carr over you?
Yeah, I have to say so. I would think so. I would probably say the Raiders. If my first guess would be the Raiders, or hey, maybe it was the Giants thinking they're going to stick with Daniel Jones. I don't know. I can't see it as the 49ers, though. I don't think Brady's going to take that shot at Jimmy Garoppolo. I do think there is some love there. I don't know, but that's just my personal opinion.
We got a call, and it's from one of your favorites here. Rob, the Sports God, welcome to the Sports Web. You're on with yours truly, along with Travis Bailey of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. What do you have to say, buddy?
Yeah, Pete and Travis, I was wondering what you think about Serena Williams retiring after her first set in tennis. And Pete, congratulations to you lighting last night, but they're still going to lose the series.
Why are they going to lose the series, Rob?
Because he's been talking to Rick too much. He calls up Rick and asks him for sports information. And, Rick picked Montreal in 5 games, and I can't see it. There's no way in hell that this Montreal team beats your Lightning, our Lightning, everyone's Lightning 4 games in a row. No darn way. And it sort of stinks that Serena's out. She's the greatest, and I hate to say it, she's the greatest tennis player that I've ever seen play. She's just dominant, and it just stinks when you see, one of the best ever, go out early. It's like seeing, Brady getting hurt or something like that in the middle of the season or right before the playoffs. It stinks, You're going for another, monster. You're going for Wimbledon.
That's
Wimbledon.
That's the game.
The biggest tournament of all.
So,
Absolutely.
Pete and Travis, what do you think about Vanderbilt, Mississippi State? Would you like to win the College World Series? And I'd like to thank Travis for joining Pete's show.
Oh, well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate you listening. I think you've been talking to Rick a lot because you're starting to talk like him a little bit and sound like him. But I miss you, pal. I miss giving you a hard time. And one of these days we got to get together for lunch, pal.
Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. I don't know. I didn't do my research on that. So who do you
I'm a Vanderbilt guy, Pete. Jay Cutler, baby. Jay Cutler, Vanderbilt all the way. Woo!
What? Mississippi State, Will Clark and also Rafael Palmeiro, correct?
You asking me or you asking Rob?
I'm asking you. Rob's gone.
I know college baseball. Get out of here. Get out of here. Let's stick with. Speaking of baseball, you got the Rays 1 game back of Boston, who's been just fantastic. And I think the Yankees are 7.5 back right now. That's considerable. 2 games over 500, 7.5 back. I'll take that all day, every day. And you sit there and go, who do you hate more? Do you hate Boston more? Or do you hate the Yankees more? It's a pretty darn close race of hate. A race of hate. There you go, Pete. Race of hate. That's the new terminology. Woo, that's a hot take, baby.
All right, your dog's in the background calling for you. Thanks a lot, Travis. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Tell Dennis Phillips I said keep up the great work. And talk to you soon.
I will definitely do that. There you go, Travis Feely of Rocket Sports Entertainment. Let me get out to the webheads here, and then we'll get out to Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. I know he wants to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know he wants to talk about Tom Brady and around the National Football League. And I also know he wants to talk about the Rays and Wander Franco, which has not necessarily gone well lately, right? 0 for 16. Rays not concerned, though. That's what happens, though. You have number 1 prospect, has an unbelievable debut, and then it happens, though. It's a young player. I mean, he's going to go through his growing pains, if you will. All right. Don't be like Ben Simmons, says Ben Cornett. Don't pass up calling Peter tonight. NSN Chapo says, with the fist, like it. I like the fire, like that. Christopher Cole says, Tampa's still not getting any respect in any sport. Dylan says, I disagree. Some may be arguable about the Bucks get crazy respect. I think it goes back to the national media. I think it goes back to Shannon Sharp basically picking against the Bucks all throughout the postseason, and the whole thing was Tom Brady's washed up. This team can't do it. I've heard it from national media, from Fox Sports to ESPN, and still to this day, the Kansas City Chiefs, after the Bucks blew them out, are still the number 1 ranked team in the power. So that's what I'm talking about. Dylan says, Notoriety Sports, baby. Absolutely. Troy Polamalu, Rogers Bucks 2023 Super Bowl champs. Christopher Cole. Good stuff, Travis. Absolutely. Taylor Allen says, hey, Peter. Hi. What's going on, Taylor? And Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC, that MFer was Jared Goff, Princess quarterback. All right, I'm going to ask him, one of the busiest men out there, best meteorologist in the Tampa Bay area and across the United States, Mr. ABC Action News himself, Dennis Phillips. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And let's talk about that Lightning win, and then we'll get in on that Brady stuff. Welcome to the Sports Web here live on the Notoriety Sports Network. And, of course, I love St. Pete.
Hey, Pete, by the way, that 1985 Mississippi State team, I knew it well. A guy I used to play softball with was their starting shortstop. That also included Jeff Brantley, if you remember, the pitcher, as well as Bobby Thigpen. So they had so much MLB team. I mean, they had a great bunch of college guys, and my buddy, who was a little guy who was a pretty good shortstop, swore that he was the best of all of them. So I mean, of course he did. That's the way it was. He lived up in Gainesville, but that was quite a team. I briefly heard you guys talk. I don't know how you guys started talking about the '85 Mississippi State team, but I do remember that team well.
Yeah, I mean, one of our callers named Rob, he always brings up stuff out of left field. He was asking about Mississippi State versus Vanderbilt in the College World Series. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I haven't really been watching it. I don't watch a lot of college baseball, but I remember Mississippi State and what some of the teams and players they're known for in Major League Baseball history. Will the Thrill Clark, who killed my team at the time, the Cubs, in that series. I think Grace had 2 grand slams and Clark had 3 grand slams, and this all the way back in 1989 with that fantastic team. But the Giants, of course, they move on to go and play the Oakland Athletics, and I believe the Athletics win that series, and that was, of course, the Earthquake series. Also,
89.
Yeah, 89. So that's why I remember it always. I remember Clark playing for them, and, of course, Palmeiro being a former Cub. He played for the same team. With that being said, what did you think of the play last night for the Tampa Bay Lightning, winning over the Montreal Canadiens 5-1? Your thoughts?
It was a close game going into the third period. I mean, all the talk was Carey Price. I mean, that was pretty much it. How the Canadiens were going to go would be how Carey Price went. And he did fine. I mean, I don't think he stood on his head as many times as a lot of Bolts fans expected, because the talk over and granted, it was valid. I mean, he pretty much did a number on Vegas where I thought Vegas would walk right through the Canadiens. But I just don't think the other teams that they faced had that kind of offensive firepower that the Bolts do. It's real simple. I mean, the Bolts just have superior speed, superior skill. And at the end of the day, if you just keep getting quality chances without a power play, mind you, I mean, and that's the thing that's kind of crazy about it. Usually everybody thinks that the Bolts get a lot of their offense through the power play. They didn't need it last night. They were doing just fine. And then in the third period, it got out of hand, as you would expect it might. So there's not much to say on the negative side, is there? I mean, they got a nice, easy win. I think most folks are thinking some folks are thinking sweep. I think probably more realistic in 5. But makes sense if they win tomorrow night and then they split in Montreal to come back and win game 5 at home.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm seeing, and that's what Travis Faley, our Lightning insider here on the Sports Web, sees of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. 5 games, and I feel like, once again, look, it's a great story for the Canadiens. They're definitely Cinderella's team this year. Nobody expected them to get as far as they have, but you're exactly right. It's not only this Lightning team is an offensive juggernaut, but also defensively. And, of course, whether he has the Vezina or not, and I don't understand why he didn't win it this year, Andre Vasilevsky definitely showed who the best goalie was last night over Carey Price, right?
Yeah, he did. He made some really stellar saves. It's funny that a lot of people are talking about how it's a Cinderella story with the Canadiens, and yet if you talk to a lot of hockey people, they're not really fans of the Canadiens in general. I mean, over the last 2 or 3 decades, I mean, I know a lot of Maple Leaf fans, and they are avidly rooting for the Bolts just because they do not want to see that. It's kind of like the Red Sox and the Yankees, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You get that rivalry, and you don't ever want the Red Sox to win a World Series if you're a Yankee fan, and vice versa. And I think it's kind of that way with the Canadian. Now, have you talked at all about, and this is something, because I go on a lot of hockey blogs, and pretty much always what I've been hearing about or reading about of late are, especially Islander fans. Islander fans were all over this, is the Bolts cheat, and the salary cap was misused, and that's the reason that the Bolts are where they are. Now, it's ridiculous to think that that's the case, but their argument was, and I've been seeing this a lot of places, again, not necessarily Bolts fans, but if anybody isn't familiar with it, when Cooch went down, they decided to hold him out until the playoffs, and by doing so, once you hit the playoffs, there is no more salary cap. You can bring whoever you want in. Mm-hmm. But they used that $9 million for Cooch's salary and used that in other avenues for the team. And they were a lot of the people who are either conspiracy theorists or just think that the Bolts management has been cheating, which is what their accusations are, is that he could have been back a lot sooner, but they chose not to keep him. in the regular season because they knew they'd get him back to the playoffs, and that gave them more depth overall going into the playoffs. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, look, if have the Lightning been crafty with what they've done? Maybe they have, but the NHL investigated it. Gary Bettman came out yesterday and said the Lightning had no wrongdoing. So this is just a conspiracy theory out there that you put on YouTube. And if you edit it up really good and you make people think something, doesn't necessarily mean it's always correct. So to me, the NHL didn't have a problem with it. If Gary Bettman didn't have a problem with it, then I don't think the Lightning did anything wrong at the end of the day, right?
Wait a minute. You're telling me that conspiracy theories aren't always true? I don't know.
Crazy, right? It's amazing, right? I mean, that's why they're theories. And of course, we got Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News here. The weather. Let's talk about the weather really quick, and then we'll get back to the Lightning. We had some lightning today, some storm, right? Unusually hot. Not only, maybe not necessarily in Florida, but all across the United States. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday in Oregon. It was over 100. I mean, explain this, and is it going to start to calm down not only in Florida, but also around the United States, or is it going to continue to be very hot?
Yeah, that heat's pretty crazy in the Pacific Northwest and up in Canada. I mean, when you're talking British Columbia, 117 degrees, that's insanity. But that's something that isn't going to continue. But I will tell you, I'm about to show you some of these rainfall totals in Pinellas and Hillsborough County. Here, let me check this out. So these are some totals that we've had today. I mean, that's a good 3, 4, 5 inches of rain in about a 2-hour stretch in Pinellas and Hillsborough County. So that purple area is about 4 to 5 inches of rain. And I think we're going to kind of have the exact same setup again tomorrow where, Florida, it never rains the same place 2 days in a row. But we've got pretty much the same setup. I think the morning will be sunny, and we're going to get another area of really heavy rain tomorrow. Tomorrow, anytime between about 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. But for the holiday weekend, the winds are going to come around. Total 180 flip-flop. So instead of sunshine until 3 and then rain from 3 to 7, we're going to see morning rain starting on Friday and Saturday along the coast, and it's moving the other direction. It's moving east. And why I bring that up, a lot of folks take a boat out or go out in a boat over the weekend, over the 4th of July. You will run into rain and storms and maybe even a water spout or two earlier on in the day if you are taking a boat out offshore. So it's a good idea to keep a real close eye on the weather starting on Friday in the mornings along the beach and right onto the 4th of July.
And the reason why that happens, of course, Dennis, is because it is so unseasonably hot. The humidity is high. You have some cooler air, maybe a front, and then that mixes around. I mean, this is typical weather for Florida, but this is what people don't understand. When those storms come over from the West Coast to the East Coast to us, basically they build up, and it becomes a squall line. And then there's definitely an opportunity there to have some severe weather where you have some storms and possible isolated tornadoes, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's coming in from the West Coast, the strong storms, as you said, a squall line, I'll give you that. It's not really a squall line, but regardless.
A squall line? Okay, my bad.
The squall lines come with a cold front. These aren't cold fronts. But regardless, the line of thunderstorms, if they're coming in from the West Coast, our coast, they end up over on the East Coast in the evening, and they're stronger. But like we had today, if the winds are coming out of the east, then as you mentioned, right on the money, those storms go over land. They get stronger and stronger. They bump into our West Coast sea breeze, and they blow up like they did today and dump a lot of rain. So at the end of the day, east wind gives us more sunshine, late day storms. West wind gives us morning rain, morning storms that move inland and to the East Coast later on in the afternoon.
See, and that's why I got to stay in my lane because he's a meteorologist. I'm trying to act like a meteorologist. Hell, some people would say I'm trying to act like a sports broadcaster. We're on with Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, the best meteorologist in the Tampa Bay area here on the Sports Web Live on the Notoriety Sports Network. And of course, I love St. Pete. How amazing to you is Nikita Kucherov? The legend himself, Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member, said that he believes that Kucherov is a lot like Magic Johnson of the NHL. Not only can he facilitate the puck and make great decisions, but he can score at any time. And check this out again. I want to read this statistic, Dennis. Believe this or not. Only 3 players in NHL history have scored 30-plus points in consecutive postseasons. Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Nikita Kucherov. Simply amazing, right?
Yeah, I was waiting for Lemieux, and I'm not a Pens fan, but I knew that was going to be the next name. Yeah, it is, and now he's doing it hurt. I mean, to what degree he's hurt, who really knows? But certainly after that cross check, a couple of games ago, it seemed like that was a significant, maybe not significant injury, but enough to keep him down for a while. And, that backhand shot that he took yesterday certainly had some zip on that. So, I mean, hockey players are the toughest, this is my opinion, but hockey players are the toughest athletes in sports. I just don't think there's any other athlete like him. And you just knew he was going to be out there. But playing at the level that he did yesterday, shows just how tough the guy really is.
I mean, it really does. And again, it's a fast-paced sport. It's somewhat like the NBA, although it's not as physical as the NBA. And, of course, ESPN has picked up the rights to the NHL. What do you think of that? Does that help the league? I think it helps the league over NBC Sports Network. Hopefully the announcers aren't as biased as they are. It seems like they're very biased when talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Is that a conspiracy theory, or do you hear that when you listen to some of the broadcast?
I hear that a lot. I don't know if it's a real thing or not. I mean, it did seem like you wonder maybe, and I'm just throwing it out there, maybe sometimes announcers are trying to give love to the team, the underdog, maybe to make it seem like it's going to be more of a game than it really is. They were doing it with the Isles. I mean, I know there's some history there with the Islanders, and when you were listening to the broadcast, it seemed as though that, I don't want to say they were rooting for the Isles, but they were certainly giving them every opportunity. Oh, they're still in this game and they can still do this. But maybe at the end of the day, they're just doing that because they know the Lightning are that good, and they're trying to make it an interesting broadcast because they thought at the end of the day, people ended up knowing the Bullets would win. But then again, it went 7. So obviously it was a much closer series than everybody thought. But I host a lot of threads during the games, and I'll have a Q&A with a lot of people, and I hear that constantly. But you know what? That's kind of Tampa fans in general. We know this. I mean, Tampa fans have a propensity to think that the refs are always against them. It's just a thing. And so do Gator fans. And I have 2 Gator graduates, my son and my daughter. I lived in Gainesville for 3 years, so I definitely get it. But a lot of the fans are convinced that it's usually the ref that beats them as opposed to the other team. And we kind of hear that a lot. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but a lot of people think that is. I mean, I hear it all the time. You're right.
Yeah. How disappointed are you that Vasilevsky didn't win the Vezina tonight?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of surprised me, but I think sometimes when you have a team that's so good, you know what I'm saying? I mean, everything about that team is so good. A lot of times you think maybe the offense that team has kind of overcompensates or makes up for another stellar effort by an individual. And sometimes it seems like the writer, who is it, the writers that give the Vezina? I'm pretty sure it must have something to do with the writers, isn't it?
It's the writers, and Marc-Andre Fleury from, of course, Vegas Golden Knights received 108 votes. Andre Vasilevsky only 99. Those are first and third.
Yeah, and I'm again not a Fleury fan because I hate the Pens, and and so I can't ever get, because remember, we've talked about this. I grew up in DC, so I grew up a Caps fan. So if you're a Caps fan, you just do not like the Pens because they always owned them. So I get that. It is surprising. I mean, Fleury was really good, but boy, it as is many times the case, the playoffs do not come into account in that voting, and you have to wonder, after that bonehead mistake that he made against the Canadiens that cost them that game. Game 4 when he mishandled it behind the goal?
Yeah,
and it was game 4 or game 5. That right there turned that series around, because if he doesn't do that, the Knights probably win that game and could very easily have gone on to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. It could have been a completely different situation. And if the viewers aren't aware with it, I mean, he had the puck behind the net, and it just kind of got caught up in his skates. There was a minute and a half left. They had a 1-goal lead, and it got caught up in his skate, and it kicked right out in front of the goal, and the Canadian went right in and had the tying goal, and they won it in OT. So you have to wonder if they had waited till after the playoffs to vote, if he had actually would have won that trophy, and if Vazzy would have got it instead.
I agree. I mean, just that in itself, that play in itself absolutely changed the momentum of that series. With that being said, let's go to Tom Brady, talk about his comments for the shop. First and foremost, do you like the fact that he's so honest and candid? Because some people were really surprised and they kind of felt like, he shouldn't be calling out a quarterback. Of course, he didn't say it by name, but he called him an MFer, and then he was talking about the team sticking with them. I mean, did you appreciate that side of Tom Brady that you really never seen before? We've never really seen this side of Tom Brady when he was in New England, because it seemed like, Bill Belichick and the Patriot way was to basically keep everybody muzzled. And now with Brady being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, it seems like he's more honest than ever.
I think anybody who's done what he has done, and to the degree that he's done it, I think you have earned the right to say whatever you want to say, whenever you want to say it. And honestly, do you think he really cares what anybody thinks? I mean, I think at the end of the day, he's going to call him like he sees him. He's earned that right. And there's going to be some people who don't like him for it, and there's going to be others who like him more for it, because they like the fact that he's not kind of like hiding his, he's not being PC. He's not saying things the way that they're supposed to be said. He's saying what he believes is the truth in his world. And I think a lot of people respect that. And in my personal opinion, the guy's earned the right to say whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He's proven he's done things unlike any other player in the history of that game. So I say more power to him for doing it.
All right. So I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory, but who do you think the team was, the mystery team? Was it the Chicago Bears, who had interest in signing him? And it seemed like, he may sign with them because they're on the East Coast, if you will. The San Francisco 49ers, I thought it could be them, although he says at the end of the statement, I would have never signed with them. So people are pointing to possibly the Las Vegas Raiders. Is that who you think it is? Was he talking about Derek Carr? And then I'll give you the statistics that he had against the Raiders, and you can kind of put two and two together and see why he was so upset about it.
Yeah, I can't. If they were talking about the quarterback, right? When he was talking about the existing quarterback that they had. Now remember, Garoppolo was a backup, in New England, and I don't know if they got along, but I would think at the very least, you think to yourself, if there was some animosity between him and someone else, might it be a former quarterback that was on the same team as a backup? Maybe. Derek Carr has a reputation of not being the most likable guy. But then again, on the other side of the coin, Raider fan loves him. And he said flat out, if I ever have to play for somebody other than the Raiders, I'm retiring. So, Raider fans love that kind of loyalty. I mean, that is Raiders all the way from when they were in Oakland to in Vegas. So it certainly seems if he's talking about a personality, maybe they're talking about the Raiders. I can't imagine anybody with Trubisky or anybody else on that team would draw such ire from Tom Brady, but I definitely could see how it could be Garoppolo just because of the fact that he was a former teammate.
And on top of it, that friction started in New England with Belichick, if you remember, because Belichick wanted to trade Brady. Kraft and Brady found out. Brady always held that against Belichick, and that's the reason why I think Tom left in the first place, because basically Bill wanted to go with Garoppolo and he wanted to trade Brady. So, but what Colin Cowherd says that they have the same agent and that Brady likes Garoppolo, and you can never know. And to me, if you're talking about somebody that he said it to, it's John Gruden. Could you imagine John Gruden saying, you know what, we're interested in you, Tom Brady, but you know what, we're good here. We're going to go with Derek Carr. I mean, does that sound like John Gruden to you?
Not a guy who loves his quarterbacks. You'd certainly think if he ever had a chance to go with the best ever, he would certainly try. I mean, remember when Gruden went in, Carr was by no means set in stone the number one. I mean, Gruden has a tendency to do that. I'll never forget when he came to the Bucs, when he first called Mike Allstott, Mark Allstott. Remember that?
Right.
And did he do it on purpose or did he do it? I don't know. I mean, it could just be a slip of the tongue. But then again, one of the best backs that the Bucs had, you got to figure he knew who he was. So I could see him stirring the pot a little bit when it comes to Gruden, but to me, it makes more sense that it had to do with Garoppolo just because of the history there. And if his agent backed him up, that's probably even more of a lie because, do agents tell the truth most of the time? Come on.
Right. But everybody knew that Brady wanted to go to the 49ers. I mean, that was one of his first choices. In fact, they were contemplating it, but he says at the end of the statement, I would have never gone there. So to me, that does rule out the 49ers because I think he did have some interest in going to probably his number one team if it's not for the Bucs. And we even heard the Saints were in there. The Titans were in there. The Bears, to me, were surprising. But look, they have a defense. He was interested in them. I don't necessarily think he was so interested in the Raiders. And then, of course, the Raiders decided to go with Derek Carr. So I think it's interesting. But look at these statistics here, Dennis. Brady completed 33 of 45, 369, 4 touchdowns with a 127 passer rating and a 45-20 blowout. It's kind of becoming clear to me that there was some extra if you will. There was a chip on his shoulder where he basically had to really throw for it all versus the Raiders.
Yeah, but the Raiders D is pretty bad too. So there is that.
Well, that's the reason why in the first place he didn't go there. All right, we got Leo Haggerty on the line here. Leo, stand by. We still got Dennis. I want to ask him a couple more questions, and then we'll get to you, all right? Stand by, Leo. We got Leo Haggerty, the legend. We're on with Dennis Phillips, a legend in his own right for ABC Action News, a great meteorologist. Definitely check him out. Tuesday and Thursdays on Facebook, 7:30, right, with your show?
Yeah, and when we get big weather or severe weather or tropics, we're there all the time. But, yep, those are my times.
All right, good stuff here. Aaron Rodgers, it was mentioned on Pro Football Talk that there's a possibility that he could opt out on July 2nd, which I believe would be this Friday. And they mentioned that because basically he would not lose any of his salary, he wouldn't lose any of his bonus. On top of it, he would not be charged the $2 million if he decides to hold out by the Packers. Could you honestly see that Aaron Rodgers situation where Rodgers basically pulls a Jake Plummer or even a Brett Favre and decides to retire, keep all his money, sit out until the Packers decide to trade him next year?
I could absolutely see that happening. But I got a question for you. Do you really care about Aaron Rodgers anymore? I am so sick of hearing it. I'm over it. I'm like, whatever. I don't care what he does. Move on. Let's get to some real football because the drama that goes along with him and that situation is just I'm just sick of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's been all drama, and it's all been drama about Deshaun Watson. And I wanted to mention this and see what you thought about it. Ben Mahler of Fox Sports Radio mentioned that he believes that Watson will not play until 2023, and this is why. First, he's not interviewed with the NFL. The NFL has not interviewed him. His next deposition is going to be February of 2022. He feels like that Watson is going to be on the NFL exempt list. So could you see the NFL basically suspending Deshaun Watson, whether there's resolution or not to this case, until 2023?
That's crazy to think. I mean, it really is. And I really don't know the specifics of the case. I think we've all read about it and the multiple people who have claimed what he has done. I know that there was definitely some interest in him as a quarterback. It's like anything. I mean, look at AB, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, Antonio Brown is a perfect example. He had a history. There was stuff going on, and there were still people lined up once he got through what he had to get through to be eligible. So I'm sure there will be plenty of people who would love to have Deshaun Watson as their QB. But yeah, I mean, nowadays you just have to go through the process, and it's just a bad situation all around, right? It's a black eye for the NFL. It's obviously a very difficult situation for everybody. And boy, Houston, that team, are they going to win a game this year?
I mean, it's a dumpster fire. It really is. And you feel bad for him. But then again, if you think about it, if they would have traded him, and look, nobody's going to trade him if you know what happened. But if they knew something behind the scenes and you didn't trade him to get those 3 first-round picks, which you were trying to acquire, I mean, just imagine, Dennis, they trade him to a team, say the Miami Dolphins, and then all this stuff comes out. Basically, Houston looks like the big winner, and now they're stuck with a guy that is talented as he is. Basically, at this point, it is a black eye for the National Football League, and his value has absolutely been decreased. In fact, he probably doesn't have any value at this point.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that were pegging him to go to Carolina, too, given his background with Clemson. And, it was a matter of how many first-round picks. And you're right, just in a matter of a few weeks or a few months, it's gone from what could be just a windfall for that team to not being able to get anything and then losing him in addition to it. It's just a bad situation all around. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. All right, a bad situation has been Wander Franco. Disappointed, worried. The Rays aren't worried. 0 for 16 slump. I didn't watch the game tonight. Did he get a hit? Are you worried about the young man? Because, of course, he got called up a week ago, had an unbelievable debut, and now he's kind of got a reality check, right?
Yeah, I went to the game on Saturday, and what I thought was funny. I'm looking at the box score right now. He was 1 for 4. He did get a base hit.
All
Left 4 on base. He's hitting 154. So after his first at bat, I started hearing folks yelling, "Send him down! Send him down!" Started hearing it from everybody, and you know what? I just finished watching Moneyball for the 15,000th time today. I was watching it literally this afternoon.
That's a great movie, by the way. It's great. Ben, look, Brad Pitt does a good job. I don't necessarily think, Billy Beane, but it's a good movie. It's well done. They leave out some of the details. They Hollywood it up with some of the pictures. We talked about it, but it is a great baseball movie. If you ever like baseball, you should definitely watch it. All right, go ahead.
It is. And, Billy Beane was that 5-tool guy that was expected to be in the show and be a superstar. And he just didn't materialize. We all know, I think if there's any sport, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if there's any sport out there, professional sport, baseball is that one sport that you just never know. No matter how much talent they have, no matter how much of a sure thing they are, it doesn't always materialize in baseball. And to me, that's more the norm than anything else. So whether Wander Franco, how many number one prospects out there have failed? I'd be willing to bet probably more than have succeeded. So there's certainly nothing unusual about this. The Rays, of course, are going to say great things about him because all it takes is hearing some negativity, and that kind of finds its way back to him because we all know baseball is all up here. A lot of it is up there. So if he starts to question himself, he loses his confidence, and then it just starts to snowball, and then they send him back down to try to get his confidence back up because most of the time we all know this. When somebody gets sent down, a lot of times it has nothing to do with adjusting their stroke, with adjusting what they're doing mechanically. It's all about getting some confidence back and having that swagger when you get back into the batter's box. So I'm sure the Rays at this point in time, the guy's still got a great glove, and I think they're going to let him continue until it gets to the point where they feel like he is mentally having too much of a time, and then maybe it gets sent back down. But that happens a lot. I mean, how many number one prospects get called up and they stay all the way? They're never sent back down and they're immediately successful. In baseball, it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that often. Of course, Rays fans will be very familiar with the BJ Upton. He struggled to a certain degree, not only with his offense, but also defense, more defensively, if anything else. So let's see if the kid can do it. Let's not call him a bust yet. I know there's a lot of fans out there disappointed, but let's give it some time. All right, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Go ahead and promote yourself really quick here, and then we'll get you out of here on the Sports Web.
So I will mention something. So next Saturday night, 6 o'clock, July 10th, at the Dunedin Blue Jays Stadium. So the Dunedin Blue Jays are playing the Yankees single A team over in Dunedin, and it's feeding Tampa Bay. It's Hurricane Preparedness Night. And they're giving away 1,000 Dennis Phillips bobbleheads to the first 1,000 people there. And for every $7 ticket purchased, $3 is being donated to Feeding Tampa Bay. So that's next Saturday night, 6 o'clock at the Dunedin Blue Jay Stadium in Dunedin. Again, donations for Feeding Tampa Bay and a Dennis Phillips bobblehead that you can just do, whatever you want to with. But at the end of the day, it's a great fundraiser, and it's a hurricane preparedness night. So hopefully you guys would have a chance to stop out and say hi.
And I may stop out there, say hi, bring the camera, bring the mics here for the great Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, boss?
My pleasure, Pete. Have a good one.
All right, there you go. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Let's go out to the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. You're following the great Dennis Phillips. Your thoughts on that Lightning game last night? Pretty loud, right?
Yeah, Peter, it was a madhouse, and you can see the fans that just came back to the arena. They were fired up. And again, the Lightning going for a second Stanley Cup. And about a month ago, John Cooper said, winning one is okay, but if you want to be special, you got to win 2 in a row. He laid down the gauntlet back then. So And I'll tell you what, Peter, I said on your show last night, the Lightning in 5, maybe 4. I'm going to change that. It's definitely going to be a sweep. And
Sweep.
Here's why.
Okay.
Here's why. I don't know if you saw the NHL awards tonight.
Yes, I did. And I was very, very disappointed. But then again, I'm not surprised because I do think the national media, I think they disrespect Tampa Bay sports teams. And for Andre Vasilevsky to not win the Vezina Trophy tonight and no Tampa Bay Lightning players to win any awards is completely ridiculous.
Peter, I'm going to coin a phrase of the Japanese General Yamamoto when he found out it was a sneak attack and the declaration of war did not get delivered before the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
We have awoken a sleeping giant and filled him with a terrible resolve. 88 is going to be pissed.
He should be.
77 is going to be pissed.
Yeah.
So they are going to play like, okay, let me show you what somebody who doesn't win it. I will be amazed if the Lightning lose a game right now. I'll be amazed just because of those two guys, again, being slighted. I don't know, we haven't seen people. That's the problem. Is Marc-Andre Fleury better? I don't know. He only played out west. Is Fox better as a defenseman? I don't know. We never saw him play.
Right.
So it's kind of tough. We see 77 and 88 every night. And I'll tell you what, if these guys are better than them, God love you. You're really good then.
Well, I mean, and you talk about Fleury. I mean, Dennis mentioned it. He made one of the most critical mistakes to really change the momentum of that series, because if he doesn't make that mistake, then you could be talking about Vegas versus the Lightning instead of the Canadians, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy about that. I'm happier that.
Oh no, we got
Montreal.
we got an update here from Dylan Beeks. He says Giannis just went down with a terrible injury. Anything on that?
I had it on, and I don't know if it's a terrible injury. He's back, but I don't know if it's exactly as bad as it's being made out to be.
Okay.
Peter, it's almost a throwaway game for Milwaukee.
Right.
They're, they hold home court no matter what. If it goes 2-2, then it's going to be, 2 games in Milwaukee, which is going to be interesting. But I'll tell you what, if Giannis took a 3-pointer, I would fine him if I was the head coach. Get your big behind down on the square. We'll throw you the ball, and you just play dunk-a-thon down there.
Correct.
Atlanta has no big. I just don't understand the NBA game. Why a guy that big, that athletic, and that good doesn't just park his behind under the basket and think he's a 3-point shooter and gets out on the line.
Well, I mean, that's the difference between the game these days. If you can't shoot the 3, you can't win. But I still feel like you have to have a mid-range jump shot. You still have to rebound. You still have to play defense. And those are some of the things that are missing out of most of, these teams that are playing in the postseason. And that's why some of these teams are moving on, because they exactly have that. And the low post game to me is dead. But Giannis could do that. If you put him in the low post, he can do those things. He can create those points. And instead, you have guys that are, 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", even 7 foot shooting from the outside. And that's how the game has definitely changed. And I think to tell you the truth, I think it's made it worse, honestly.
Oh, absolutely, Peter. It's like baseball with analytics. It's the same
Right.
thing with basketball.
Right.
It's all about analytics. And it's still the basic rule. Offense sells tickets, defense wins championships.
You're exactly right. And we're on with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former Coach Scott, and now media member of Night Sports Productions at Sports Mag, talking about defense. What were your thoughts on that defensive play by the Tampa Bay Lightning last night? Not only the goaltending, but it seemed like they gave Montreal no space on the ice. What did you see? You were in the press box.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Peter. When you hold a team to 18 shots, that's a pretty darn good effort. And when you're looking at what the Lightning have done, I have not seen them make a monumental effort like they have actually block shots and play defense. John Cooper said, 3 years ago, we were the greatest show on ice. We just scored, and scored some more.
Right.
Well, now they're playing defense. And, you got McDonald, you got Hedman, you got Sergachev. Sergachev has improved by leaps and bounds.
Absolutely.
And, you got
Cernak.
Savard.
Right.
Yeah, you got, and Cernak scores his first goal. But, Peter, there's not too many times you say the Montreal Canadiens are outskated. Man, it was just obvious last night who the faster team was on the ice.
And I tell you another thing that was obvious, Leo, you mentioned it last night. I think it's a great comment. You said Nikita Kucherov reminds you of the Magic Johnson of the NHL. He has 2 goals last night, but because he can facilitate the puck, he makes great decisions. But check this out. I keep on reading this statistic because it's amazing to me. Only 3 players in NHL history have scored 30 more points in consecutive postseasons. Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Nikita Kucherov.
Pretty damn good company, isn't it?
Pretty much. I mean, if you keep on this pace, kid, you may be a Hall of Famer. I mean, and it's not like he's old or something. He's going, down. He's in the prime of his career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, Peter? I'm going to take us back 2 years ago.
Okay.
When the Lightning got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yep.
That was the worst thing and the best thing that happened to the Lightning. Worst thing, it was embarrassing to have a team that had just set the record for wins in the NHL regular season. They don't even win a game in the playoffs.
Right.
The good thing is they haven't lost a playoff series since then. They are focused, and it doesn't take John Cooper much. All he's got to do is say, hey, this playing like this cost us Columbus. Hey, you got their attention. It is that fresh in their mind.
Yeah.
And again, Peter, when you look around that team, it's pretty young guys.
Yeah.
They're going to lose a guy in the expansion draft. It's probably going to be Tyler Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing for Tyler. He's from Seattle.
I think it would be perfect. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a good thing for him. It's a loss for the Lightning, but once again, their farm system, the depth on all their lines, they can definitely, compensate for that with players that they get out of the farm. And we're on with Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions at Sports Mag, talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. And of course, a little NBA talk here on the Sports Web live on the Notoriety Sports Network. And I love St. Pete. Open phone line. We can put you on with Leo Haggerty, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. So you think this is going to be a sweep at this point?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I absolutely. I don't see anything different unless the Lightning want to lose one and have a game 5 at home and win it at home. Peter, it's not going past 5.
No.
I got to give you this comment. I don't know if I told you last night, but the guy who handles hockey for us at Night Sports Production, Jim Feast,
Okay.
he made a comment the other night. He said, Vasilevsky has given up 3 goals in 4 games. Last night, it was a pinball shot. It went off 4 guys.
Sure.
Okay. The 2 goals he gave up in New York were perfect shots. He said he had every part of that net covered except about 4 inches, and that's the 4 inches they hit.
Mm-hmm.
He made the comment that Andrei Vasilevsky is the best technical goaltender since Ken Dryden.
Jeez.
Now you're talking again, the things he can do at his size are just phenomenal. And the first save of the game he had, it was a very difficult kick save that he made look routine. He knows the angles. He's smart. He's disciplined. And I'll tell you what, the only way you're going to beat him is on the power play if you can move the puck faster than he can, or you get one of those bouncies that is a rebound or it goes off somebody. That's how good they're playing right now.
It really is. And, being 14-0 after a loss. So if they lose tomorrow night, never fear. Again, 14-0. And you're exactly right. Going back to that Columbus series where it seemed like the sky was falling, and even some fans were saying fire Cooper, which would be completely ridiculous if you even consider that now, with the way he coaches and makes adjustments for this team and the winning edge and everything like that over other coaches in that league. It was a good teaching moment. Even Cooper mentioned that Kucherov grew up after that moment, after they got swept, because there was criticism. Kucherov didn't necessarily play well, and he grew as a player. And you're exactly right. It was the best thing, but it was the worst thing, because at the time, the Lightning had a great team and everything like that. Everybody was expecting, bigger expectations. But then when that loss happens, it's a teaching moment for all players like a Kucherov, right?
Yeah, and you know what, Peter? Let's go back down memory lane again.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that no one takes into consideration, and you need to do this when you're doing timeline.
Okay.
Victor Hedman was hurt for the first 2 games, didn't play the next 2.
Correct.
If there's one player this team cannot lose,
It's Hedman.
it's Victor Hedman.
Agree.
They could probably lose Vasilevsky and still be able to compete, but without Victor Hedman, they got a problem.
Yeah, they
So,
definitely got a
again,
problem.
Yeah, and they got swept. And the funny thing is, Peter, this team was up 3-0 in game 1
Yep.
and lost, and then it was the skies falling. They didn't lose 3 in a row all year, and when they lost 2 in a row, that panic was setting in.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to make this happen or just get this out of their system. But now, I'll tell you what, Peter, the funny thing is when you look around the league
Mm-hmm.
at the former Lightning players that are really playing well on other teams,
Yeah.
you got Marchand out in Las Vegas.
Yep.
You got Paquette up in Carolina. You got the guys in Florida.
Yep. The kid, I'm trying to think of his name right now. He played
Yeah,
well.
he's got a funny name.
Verhaeghe.
Ver-
Carter
Verhaeghe,
Verhaeghe. Yes. He played
Yeah.
well.
And
So,
it's not like this team has got players coming up.
right.
I mean, look, you got Ross Colton coming. He's there. You got about 3 or 4 guys that are just waiting for a chance to play. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this team may not miss a beat next year.
Look, if they can keep their core together, look, they may have some losses because of the salary cap, and we've talked about that. And of course, the NHL and Gary Bettman said the Lightning did nothing wrong. So enough of that salary cap talk. But you feel like there will
Peter,
be
let
some.
me interrupt you for a second.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did do something wrong. They didn't do anything illegal.
right. Exactly.
You know,
Right.
The Chicago Blackhawks did the exact same thing. It's in there. Peter, I'll tell you one thing that's really going to be a problem. The commissioner came out and gave the impression that they're not going to let the players go to the Olympics. And that brought great consternation, our SAT word,
Wow. Look at that. Look at that word. Nice.
amongst 2 of the Lightning, Victor Hedman and Coach Sean Cooper.
Uh-oh.
Victor Hedman said, you wait a lifetime to play for your country. And Coach Cooper said, look, I went to the World Cup. That's not the Olympics. The Olympics is something. I think there's going to be a real tussle between the NHL and the players because they want to go to the Olympics. They want to represent their country. That only happens once every 4 years if you're lucky. So
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. A lot of players, a lot of coaches look forward to it. And I remember when the NHL players were playing in the Olympics, how exciting was that? Even though Canada won, I mean, Canada, USA in the final, must see TV on NBC. What are your thoughts on ESPN acquiring the rights of the NHL? Is that a good move for them?
Peter, I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know because I don't have the, particulars on the deal.
Sure.
The NHL did not have a good monetary deal with their former network.
Sure.
They probably had the worst package of anybody. Football's king. It's football and everybody else. We
Sure.
know that.
Absolutely.
And that's because you're only playing 16, 17 games.
Right.
So every game counts. Think about it, Peter. Baseball, you can lose 60 games, and that's a hell of a season.
Yep. That's definitely a hell of a season.
You're 102 and 62.
Yeah, you can go 3 for 10 and hit 300, and that's perfect. That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked Joe Madden one time, I said, Coach, help me out here. 60 games, you're going to win. 60 games, the other team's going to win. Whether you're managing or not. So basically, we're looking at 42 games where it's going to decide your season. He goes, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
I give that one credence. So again, that's something you need to actually take a look at and see what the heck is going on with baseball. And it's kind of funny, Peter. I know I'm all over the place tonight.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
Think about baseball.
Yes.
Right? They're checking out pitchers for cheating.
They actually checked out a position player last night for the Cubs in a blowout. Are you serious? Like, come on. What are you doing?
And Peter, this is a sport that encourages cheating.
Right. I mean, look, I have a problem with the steroid heads because I think that's taking it to the next level. And anybody says, well, if you're a great hitter, just because you take steroids, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do well. Yeah, if you're Barry Bonds and you take steroids, it's going to make you even better. What are you talking about? A guy who's 34, 35, 36 years old shouldn't be jacking 71, 73 home runs out of the park, not at that age. Don't tell me that steroids didn't make a difference on him and the other players that did it. Don't tell me that. That's naive.
Well, you know what, Peter? It doesn't help you hit it.
Right.
It may help you hit it farther.
Right.
But you still got to make contact.
Correct.
In baseball, the toughest sport to play because you're trying to hit a round ball with a square bat.
Right. Of course.
But when you look at baseball, right, you encourage people to steal signs. You encourage people to steal bases.
Right.
You encourage people to cork bats. You encourage people to use extra pine tar.
The unwritten rule of baseball, you can't bunt on a no-hitter. I mean, there's so many weird things about baseball. And then you look at the Hall of Famers in the past, the Ty Cobb, and you start to find out all these players, they had all kinds of skeletons in their closet and they're still in the Hall of Fame. So I get it. You're trying to, curtail the cheating. You're trying to improve the offense, but you're also messing up the pace of the game, basically, with all this.
Yeah, it's not what this game has been.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And Peter, back to hockey. I don't know if you caught the interview with Bettman yesterday, but someone talked about the officiating in that. He got pretty hot about it.
He did. He said they were the best officials in all. He said he had the best officials in the sport and the best professionals in all professional sports. And I'm like, what are you looking at? Look, I don't expect him to say anything less because it's his league at the end of the day. But come on, Gary, you can't really look at me and say that comment with a straight face the way the officials have been absolutely atrocious in some of these series. I mean, come on.
And you know what, Peter? I never understood why they called it playoff officiating.
Right.
If it's a penalty in November, it should be a penalty in May.
Correct.
Or June.
Correct.
I'm sorry. If it's not a penalty now, it shouldn't be a penalty during the regular season. So I thought the idea was to have consistency.
Mm-hmm.
There's a semi-SAT word.
Very nice.
But
you're full of it tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'm usually full of it every night. Thank you. I'll give you an assist on that one, my friend.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. But it's just, why are you upset? And he goes, we miss calls. It's the fastest game. I get the missed calls, but you can't just look away.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a third official, let's start putting a third official in there. Let's start to figure it out.
Agree. Absolutely agree. All right. Speaking of figuring it out, do we know the mystery team that Tom Brady was referring to when he went on the shop and basically said, sticking with that mother effer, and I won't say it. I really wanted to say it because I was in one of those kind of moods today, and you know the reason why off the script here. I wanted to say it, but who is he talking about? What quarterback and what team is he talking about? At first, I thought it was the San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo, but he says at the end of it, he basically would never go to this team. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. There's other outlets that believe it could be the Las Vegas Raiders. You look at his statistics versus the Raiders this year, 4 touchdowns, 127 rating. I mean, it makes sense. Could it have been the Raiders? Could John Gruden told Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, the guy that basically put him out of being a Raiders coach the first time, and in that event in itself, made him the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the tuck game? Could Gruden have told Tom Brady, I don't want you around because we want to stick with Derek Carr? True or false?
Peter, anything's possible with this.
Right.
And again, Gruden does not like rookies. He just doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would be Vegas, just because why would he not want the greatest quarterback of all time to come in and play for him?
Right.
I don't think it was Vegas. I'm thinking maybe it was Denver. Maybe.
Wow. Drew Lock? John Elway would make that decision? I mean, John Elway? John Elway's calling the shots there. So this is John Elway to Tom Brady. We're going to stick with Drew Lock, who, by the way, his completion percentage is awful.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just looking around the league. Someone said New Orleans. I don't see that.
No.
You know.
Chicago was in on it. Mitchell Trubisky, would he be a guy? But, you know, they had Nick Foles. They traded for Nick Foles, of course. He wanted to go to Chicago. There was some interest there because he was on the East Coast. And, of course, we found out later the reason why he didn't choose the West Coast is because he wanted to be by his family. He would have gone to Chicago, I think, if they had more weapons and they wanted to do more for him. But there was a report out there that the Raiders balked at him because of some of the things he wanted that, of course, he got in Tampa Bay. So, or possibly the Chargers, but the Chargers weren't sticking with anybody. They got rid of Phillip Rivers. So the teams that are sticking with quarterbacks, the 49ers, the Raiders, the Titans with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, to me, it seems like it would be the Raiders because of what he said. I would never go there in the first place.
It's almost like the process of elimination.
Right.
Throw out the teams that didn't.
Right.
So, we know it's not Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's not Buffalo. Could it be the Jets?
No.
But that's before they were getting rid of
Yeah, I don't think it was I don't see it. I don't see it.
How about Miami?
Well, I mean, who are they sticking with? Tua? I mean, they didn't have a quarterback at the time, did they? Were they sticking with Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, they had Tua.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, I'm just wondering if Tom Brady's making this crap up. And we heard him say that on the shop.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Do you like that show? Do you like when athletes get more candid? I mean, it seems like Tom Brady's more candid ever since he's been with the Bucs. You know, throwing the trophy, being able to talk more, being Tom Brady, more outgoing than he was with the New England Patriots. Do you like when an athlete goes on a show like that and kind of throws a little shade and gives some insight that you're not going to see from other athletes?
Yeah, you know what, Peter? It's nice every now and then to know they're human.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's kind of crazy to think that the New England way was just, let's deceive and decept. So people don't know what we're gonna do. I like the one line he said, if I was going at one of those cornerbacks, I would say he's the greatest guy in the world. I don't want to go near him, and I'm going to attack that. You know what?
he says that word a lot. I'm loving Tom Brady. I'm loving how he talks. Real quick, I want to finish off with this. This was on the Ross Tucker podcast here from, and I believe, I'm trying to think, Emory Hunt, who was evaluating tape, and he says about Kyle Trask, of course, the second-round pick. Lots of controversy with some Bucs fans. Lots of controversy. People thought he was a first-round pick. He fell to the second round. He says, if this was 1996, I'm all in on Kyle Trask going in the second round. But when your coach comes out, your head coach, Bruce Arians, compares you to Brad Johnson in a 2021 football era, that's not a good look. I feel like because he doesn't have the athleticism, the ability to get out of the way, and how he doesn't do particularly well versus the blitz, this is someone that doesn't fit today's game. In your opinion, is that too critical of Emory Hunt, or is that the truth? Or do we look too much into a quarterback having the athleticism? Because at the end of the day, you look at Drew Brees and his success. You look at Tom Brady, who doesn't have all the athleticism. Do we make too much of a big deal of a quarterback being a pocket passer instead of a guy that gets out of the pocket?
You know what, Peter? It all depends on what your offensive line can do.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, Tom Brady is the most unathletic quarterback going. He's 44 years old.
Right.
He's big and slow. Okay. We know that. So you come up with ways to keep him upright. And again, Tristan Wirtz, the other time he was on, what did Tom Brady tell you? Don't let him come inside. Don't let him come fast.
Exactly.
That's all he cared about. I mean, what else do you want? And again, not too many quarterbacks. Brady will either throw it away or take a sack.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows I'm going to fight another day. You're not going to see Tom Brady scramble because it's just not in his MO.
Yeah.
And with the weapons they got here, all he's got to do is take 3-5 steps and let it rip.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think we make too much of a big deal about this. I look at Trey Lance, and you talk about Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray and all these quarterbacks that could do this. But at the end of the day, I think it comes back down to a quarterback. Can he go through his progressions? Look, he does have the athleticism. I get it. Patrick Mahomes is an athletic quarterback, but at the end of the day, he has to throw from the pocket to be a consistent, good quarterback in this league, to be a great quarterback in this league. You have to throw from the pocket. If not, you end up as a Cam Newton, eventually taking those unnecessary hits and basically being a shell of yourself. Good stuff there, Leo Haggerty. Go ahead and promote yourself, the legend himself, former Coach Scout, and now media member here on the Sports Web Live on the Notoriety Sports Network. And, of course, I love St. Pete.
I'll tell you what, folks, if you get a chance tomorrow, go to www.itsportsmag.com. And we did an interview today, Peter, with Tony Perez. And you're probably going, the first baseman for the Reds? No. He's the president of Operation Game On. And what he does is he takes wounded warriors, veterans, and teaches them how to play golf. One arm, one leg, two legs gone, doesn't matter. That's what he does. And we had a great session with him tonight. That's going to go up tomorrow in our ISM TV section. And, our columnist, Abby Hope, she did a recap on the Bucs' first game. And sadly, Adam Schnapsazer talked about what happened down at Surfside. with that building collapsing, and that's just a crying shame.
Yeah, that's definitely a crying shame. Really quick, I know I want to get you out of here. Deshaun Watson, Ben Mahler of Fox Sports Radio has put out the assumption that you won't see Deshaun Watson until 2023. Do you agree with that? I mean, the NFL hasn't talked to him yet. Supposedly, they're going to be talking to him eventually. He believes that Roger Goodell is going to put him on the exempt list, which basically is a paid vacation. And then he won't be able to give his deposition until February of 2022, where he believes that it will be 2023 until a team touches him. Do you agree with that? And do you feel like that punishment is enough? Because to me, this is, whether this is guilty or he's not guilty, these are the worst accusations that I've ever seen on a player. With all the with all the women that are involved in this case, honestly, this is probably the biggest black guy in the NFL. And if the NFL does not make an example out of him or suspend him the way they need to, this could be a PR nightmare for Goodell and the NFL.
Peter, it's all going to come down to one thing. Was it consensual? If it was, no harm, no foul.
Okay.
You can't change the rules after the game's been played.
Sure.
Again, if it wasn't consensual, throw the book at them. But if it's two adults doing what they do behind closed doors, Peter,
yeah,
that's still legal in the United States.
The problem is it's not one or two women, it's 22 women. So, I mean, to me, it's a pattern of behavior, and it's very disturbing, to tell you the truth. And I think I don't think it's, the word is not interesting. I think it's perplexing, Leo word, that there are teams still interested in him, because I feel like he has no value at this point. I mean, whether he's guilty or not, we know what Goodell can do. And this comes down to conduct detrimental to the league and to the team. Whether he's guilty or not, we all know what Goodell and this league will do to somebody.
Yeah, that's true, Peter. But you heard the story about Will Chamberlain, right? What would you have done with him today? I tell you, it's a hard decision to make. Is it something that's the biggest problem? Is if this was non-consensual, then you have a leg to stand on.
Right.
If it was, he hasn't done anything illegal. He hasn't done anything immoral. It's a single guy having, Peter, if we're talking about, again, I'm not trying to defend the guy. I'm just trying to give a timeline.
Sure.
From what I'm seeing, we're talking about the space of about a year, correct?
Sure.
Peter, single guys, rich, famous, think they're going to date 22 women in a year?
I mean, I definitely think there's a possibility if you're single, sure, of course. But, you know, at the end of the day, I also go back to this point. If you're a rich NFL quarterback, you can have any woman you want. Why are you trying to focus on masseuses? I mean, I don't understand it. And then, you know, the erasing of text messages, it just points a finger of his guilt more and more. The more I look at this case, and then you have the other attorney saying, we're not looking to settle. We're looking to get, you know, these people their rights. We're looking to get justice in this case. I feel like, look, it's not going to be a good situation. It's not going to work out. It hasn't been a good situation. And I tell you right now, thank God for Aaron Rodgers and that debacle and that situation, because if it wasn't for Rodgers, all you would be talking about most likely in this offseason would be Watson.
Yeah, and it's pretty much a dumpster fire in Houston anyway.
Right.
With what they got going on. And again, Peter, you talk about the guy having no value. If Goodell said right now, okay, we've reviewed the case, we don't think he did anything wrong. I can tell you there'd be 20 teams interested tomorrow.
You're probably right, but they would definitely.
We call that. We call that in the coaching profession the Father Flanagan. Because, and for you people that don't know, Father Flanagan started Boys Town out in Nebraska. We call it the Father Flanagan syndrome because some coach is going to think, well, I can change him. Guess what? You're not. It's
No.
not going to happen.
No.
So
It's definitely a red flag. It's definitely crazy. Leo Haggerty, thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web, live on the Notoriety Sports Network. And of course, I love St. Pete. All right, boss?
Have a good evening, Peter. Talk to you later.
Appreciate you. There you go. Good stuff. Let me go out to the webheads here, read some of these comments, and then we'll read some more stories. And then if we don't get any phone calls, we'll end it for the night. Appreciate it, guys. Really do appreciate Travis Feely and Dennis Phillips, and of course, the great Leo Haggerty. Let's go out to you. And I believe this is Ben Bolts beat the French out of the Canadians last night. Christopher Cole says, what are your thoughts on the Stanley Cup Finals taking a break for the Olympics? We just talked about that. I think there's a lot of players. I don't think that's taking a break. I think there are players out there who want to play in the Olympics and are not going to have the opportunity from Bettman's comments. I read somewhere that it was the Titans and Tannehill. That was from Albright of the NFL Network, I believe, or NFL Media. Sandra Nagel says, watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area with the Sports Web. I love St. Pete and the Notoriety Sports Network. Love it. I'm going to go ahead and give her a got to do that. Dylan says, Giannis just went down. We talked about that. Christopher Cole, Javi Baez struggled early on in his career. A lot of players do. I'm just saying, the whole jumping to conclusions. I get it. Fan means fanatic. I'll never, down a fan. I get there's a lot of Rays fans out there. But his debut was unbelievable, hitting a home run and what the impact he's made. And now it's kind of shut down and the reality check is set in. So, look, it's a case of every baseball player goes through slumps and times when they don't necessarily connect with the ball. And then you get on a hot streak, and next thing you know, your average is up to 300. So don't give up on Wander Franco because he's going through a slump. That's all I'm saying. I probably misunderstood that about the Stanley Cup Finals and the Olympics. Leo just cleared it up for me. There you go. Brian says the web has your back. The web page or the webheads are back. Thank you very much, Saints fan. That's okay. I guess the big time question for you, Brian, is who's your starting quarterback, Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill? That will be the storyline, in my opinion, and all the losses you've had offensively and especially defensively. Can that team still compete in the NFC South? We'll see. You guys, we talk about Tampa Bay. Nobody else would. What are you crazy? They would have won a Super Bowl, and you think they're God's gift to the NFL. Yeah, right. By lucky, you got one Super Bowl. Brian, we got two. Yes, the one Super Bowl this year, of course, with Tom Brady, which is what you're talking about. But they have two in their franchise history. And they deserved it. There was no luck in that. I hate that whole, well, they got lucky because there's a pandemic. Everybody had to play in a pandemic. Yeah, everybody had to play in those conditions. And clearly the best team in the NFL last year was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My thought process is, yes, there are national outlets out there and people giving the Bucs love right now after the fact to a certain degree. Because still, we have national pundits out there that believe the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in 2021. I don't understand it. I understand that the Chiefs are the media darling, if you will, with an MVP candidate in a Patrick Mahomes, who's a young player. You've got exciting weapons there, but people failed to watch that game last year in the Super Bowl when it was 31-9. Yeah, I was talking to a Chiefs fan on the plane the other day, and he forgot. Selective amnesia. Oh, we had these offensive linemen. Oh, okay. But you didn't. Injuries are a part of the game. And consequently, the only thing that touched down was that play. Because the Chiefs had no touchdowns in that game. And no chance to get any touchdowns in that game. Because that defense took over. So enough with the whole... the Chiefs are the number one team in the NFL this year. Why? Oh, well, they fill the offensive need. Okay, but are they the best team? Did they return all their players like the Bucs? Did they have Tom Brady? Keep on rolling them out. That's cool. That seemed to work last year. Oh, Tom Brady's over the hill. This team's not good enough. Okay. I feel like I want to see the MF word, but I'm not going to do it. I'll let Tom Brady do it. All right, let's go out to Troy Aikman, who was on the Ringer Flying Coach podcast. He goes, we shouldn't have overly competitive drills in May and June. Brady said he was referring to that. And he also says, I was surprised to hear Tom Brady say, yeah, the players need more time off. He was very vocal. It shocked me because I know Tom well. After thinking about Brady's comments, though, they made sense to Aikman, the Hall of Fame quarterback, of course, for the Dallas Cowboys. And then I realized the greatness of Tom Brady because I can assure you he's not taking those days off, and that team is not taking those days off. So he views it as a total competitive advantage. Aha! Aha! That's what gives Brady the advantage, that competitive fire. So could he be trying to get players to take off because he's trying to get a competitive advantage? I think it's certainly possible, don't you? Aikman goes on to say if teams are practicing less and he's practicing more, that's going to give him a leg up on the competition. And I think that was really his whole motivation in his comments. Remember what he said at the shop on the LeBron James show on HBO. 90% of what I say in the press conference is not what I really mean. He's playing a game. That's what the greats do. Remember, I always go back to The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, where he would try to motivate himself. That's the difference. Motivating himself, playing a game. He's playing a game with everybody, a mental game. When you're ultra competitive like Brady, the idea of trying to get a leg up on everyone makes sense, which is why Aikman's theory isn't all that crazy. Aikman also goes on to say, I'm all for getting rested. I'm all for all those things. But at some point, you have to pose the question, do you want to be great or do you not? Do you want to be a great team? Do you want to be a great player? And if you do, that means you have to put in the time. He also goes on to say, and I think here, let's see. Again, Brady admitted 90% of what he says in the press conference isn't actually what he's thinking. So not only does Brady give boring answers in the press conferences, but he knows he's giving boring answers and he doesn't care at all. In fact, he went on to say he definitely seems to admire anyone who can by themselves during a press conference. One person he seems to specifically admire is former running back Marshawn Lynch. Brady was so impressed with the Beast Mode's performance back in the Super Bowl Media Day in January 2015 that he actually wants to pull off his own version. I'm just here so I don't get fined in a press conference before he retires. So good stuff by Tom Brady. Do you like that? Do you appreciate that? Did you like the show? Did you like seeing him be candid and being honest? Who do you think the mystery team is? Is it the Las Vegas Raiders? Is it the Tennessee Titans? Is it the San Francisco 49ers? Is it the Chicago Bears? Do you care? Because I kind of care about it. And I look at those statistics that he put up versus the Raiders. Tremendous. It's like he had a chip on his shoulder. It's like Brady circled that game and said, you know what? These MFers are getting it. And they're getting it good. And they're getting it Tom Brady style. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. And we talked about the Aaron Rodgers mess with Dennis Phillips. Are you tired of talking about it? Do you want to see some resolution? Do you think there's going to be any resolution? And of course, it's been talked about with Aaron Rodgers and what he could possibly do. Do you see him opting out on Friday, on July 2nd? Because Pro Football Talk mentioned this. And I'm looking at the statistics right now. Basically, he saves $11.5 million. Basically, he isn't fined $2 million for holding out. All the money that he gets, the $6.8 million for the contract, if he opts out on Friday, decides not to play this season, he basically doesn't have to answer to anybody. He still gets paid. So could you see him doing that? Are you tired of that situation? Do you want to see some resolution? Where do you see him going, if anywhere? Is it all Aaron Rodgers just being Aaron Rodgers? So we'll read these rest of these comments and then we'll get out of here for the night. Brian says, Jameis Winston, we are starting quarterback and Sean Payton will make him elite quarterback and you guys will be all shocked. I'm not shocked. Never been shocked. Been on this program before. If Jameis Winston cuts down on his interceptions and bad decision-making on and off the field, he could be an all-star quarterback. Always been fair. We've seen it. We've seen him throw for 30 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. We've seen him do it. We also seen him throw 30 interceptions. Bucs fans know what to expect out of him. He can make every throw in the NFL. I think he is your starting quarterback. The key is, can he eliminate those stupid decisions? If he can, then the Saints are scary. Because you got Patrick Mahomes, a young quarterback, not an old man like Tom Brady. His time will come soon. He'll retire. You won the Super Bowl with the team he had around, not the quarterback. Well, yeah, what is that? I mean, honestly, what is that comment? You didn't win with Tom Brady. You didn't win with the quarterback that had 40 touchdowns. You won with the team around him. Every quarterback has a team around them, Brian. What are you talking about? I don't understand that. I don't get that. Explain that to me. You think any quarterback could go into this team and do what Brady did for the Bucs? I mean, if you really think that, then I got to tell you something. I got oceanfront property in Arizona for you. I don't think it's that easy. I don't. Do I think the Bucs team is stacked? Of course. Do I think the defense is top level, elite? Absolutely. Yes. But to say, Tom Brady's an old guy. Old guy threw for 40 touchdowns last year. Old guy was elite. Threw for over 4,000 yards. Old guy is on the Madden cover. So enough with the nonsense of, well, you won with the team around him. Every team wins with the team around him. That's stupid. Come on. We didn't have Vay or Dean in the first game against the Chiefs, but everyone forgets that. True. See how that worked out, right? Worked out pretty well, especially Vay in the middle. Aaron Rodgers opts out on Friday. Whatever team gets him, he's going to win the Super Bowl. With that team in his first year, mark my words, we are one of the teams that are looking to get him. Good luck. I don't think you're going to get him. Sorry. I don't think you're going to get him.
Oh, no! We suck again!
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't. Other news around the league. Tanya Snyder, of course, the wife of Daniel Snyder, is now the co-CEO of the Washington football team, which still does not have a nickname. They're still trying to come up with a team name. Their comments are a commitment to being a standard bearer of diversity and inclusion in sports. We'll see how that works. Of course, Snyder, with the sexual allegations involving this franchise, with the firing of, personnel, they're trying to clean it up, and they feel like Tanya Snyder will be a great step in the right direction. So we'll see how that works out. Of course, again, Snyder has bought the majority of the stakes in the team, as basically the minority owners have been forced out. So there you go. And then again, going back to the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and this is from Pro Football Talk, by July 2nd, 2021 season, if he decides to opt out, he does not have to forfeit $11.5 million, and he'll receive the $6.8 million roster bonus, which is about $18.3 million. And we talked about the Deshaun Watson stuff. So, all right, let me go on to Brian, Aaron Rodgers. Okay. So, yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Once again, thanks to the great Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment coming on and talking about your Tampa Bay Lightning, my Lightning Insider. Of course, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News and the great Leo Haggerty. Join us for tomorrow, getting you ready for Lightning versus Canadiens Stanley Cup Final Game 2. We'll be right back here on the Notoriety Sports Network and I Love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web here. 3 things to end the night. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.
Dan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Notoriety Sports Network. Breaking news, live shows, unprecedented content. Notoriety Sports Network. Built different.